Good afternoon. I'm here with your Bible stories. Sherm picked a category today. Today we're going to read from the true story section. So these stories that I'm reading are supposed to be true. And the first one, and I'm hearing them for the first time, just like you guys, because I haven't read them yet. So we're reading them together. The first one is called Prison Bars, and it's by Gene V. Dixon. I was 19 years old, and only hours before I had been full of audacity, thinking I could handle whatever life passed my way. But now I was limp with terror, limp with the damp face cloth I kept pressing to my friend's brow. Months before, I had dreamt about traveling to a warm, vibrant, and distant land. I wanted to spread my wings and fly, both in the belly of a mechanical metal bird and as in taking first steps of adult freedom. Stepping from the plane with my friend, little did I realize the imprint these first few steps would leave on the rest of my life. All I could think was finally free to do what I want. Away from all the restrictions of home, I'm free. I felt like a tiger let loose after years of captivity, a prisoner released. My dreams started falling apart when my friend complained of being hot, not from the tropical heat, but from an internal fire caused by bacteria. Within only minutes, she wasn't complaining anymore. Instead, she was tossing her head, hoarse delirium dreams spewing from her lips. I knew that the situation was serious. Locking the door behind me, I ran to the front desk of the small, isolated beachfront hotel. "Is there a doctor nearby?" I asked the two bronze-skinned men standing behind the desk. "No, there are no doctors, but you are in luck." One then explained that one of the extra staff brought in for the holidays was a medical student in his final year of study. I felt my spirits bud as hope coursed through my veins. I knew my friend would be safe. Together, the medical student and I walked into my room. When he said my friend was in danger of losing her eyesight because her fever was so high, I put ice cubes on her eyes. She moved, the ice fell down her face, leaving snail trails on her cheeks. I put more ice on. He buzzed around frantically, soaking towels with cool water and placing them on her chest, watching her, telling me how dangerously ill she was, how much she needed his help to survive the night, how if I wanted him to in the future treat her, then it would cost me something. It was bad, but as painful and hurtful as it was nowhere as wounding as what happened when I phoned home. The words from my mother were, "You must have done something to make this happen. You must have done something." As she said it, the prison bars slammed down and encircled my heart. Let's be honest, we all hurt others this way. When we all blame them for the evil that comes upon them, if we don't say it, certainly we think it. Those welfare bums, if only they could get off their butts and look for work. Look at those fatso getting an ice cream cone. Why doesn't he go on a diet? He must have done something bad for that to happen. After all, what goes around comes around. I've done it myself. Why do we do it? Maybe it's because we are afraid. We are afraid that it could happen to us. By making the victim bad, we distance ourselves from the act, telling ourselves because we are good people, it couldn't happen to us. We don't realize that by blaming the victim, something worse is happening to us. Willingly, we take the prison bars and place them around our soul. We forget that no man is an island. Thousands of years ago, a female poet from China wrote, "My heart is not a stone. It cannot be rolled." I know at times that I've turned my heart to stone and rolled it away from the outstretched arms of people in pain. I know at times you've done the same. Sometimes it just seems the easier thing to do, but is it worth the price? I can't take back the hurtful words my mother spoke, but I can try not to repeat those words to others. Today I'm asking you to make a decision to not do something worse. Don't turn away when people hurt. Reach out to the rest of the doors. Make a choice to open the prison bars. That is so true, guys. People say so much hurtful things in anger. I've done it myself. I'm guilty of it myself, just like Jean Dixon is. I think we are all guilty of it. And it's true that you really need to think before you speak. But I know sometimes it's really hard. You just blurt it out when you're angry. But if you just take a moment to think and, calm down, think about, because what you can really say can really, really hurt somebody. And I'm sure we've all been in that situation. We've been the person who's hurt someone, and we've been the person who's been hurt by someone. That's all I'm going to say about that situation. I'm going to go on to another story for you guys in the true stories category, and it's called The Cows That Stayed Home. And it's by Bob Alexander. Ever wonder what makes a cow do what a cow does? She slowly moves along, munching on grass, seemingly without any particular goal in mind. Then suddenly she sees a juicy morsel on the other side of the fence. What does she do? If the gate is open, she walks on through and continues to eat. If it's closed, she sticks her head through an opening possible and eats the grass on the other side. After all, the grass is always greener, and it just has the taste better. There is a true story of a miracle of a wandering cows. It's not documented by the Catholic Church, but it is definitely a tale of divine intervention. I believe that God showers us with miracles every day, but unless they're covered by the 6 o'clock news, we rarely hear about them. The following event is a no-brainer. This was definitely a miracle from God. My friend Carol and her family built their home many years ago just outside our town. Due to progress spurred by the space industry, our town had grown larger than any of the founding fathers could have imagined. Land that was in the country 30 years ago is now in the city. Their house and their neighbor's house and pasture is now surrounded by roads and highways. Their pastures are home to a few cattle, a couple of goats, and a donkey which roam the field munching on grass. There is always the fear that someone will forget and shut the gate, and the animals will wander on the road and be struck by a car. One rainy afternoon, her neighbors were out of town, and it was her duty to feed the animals. There were only a half-dozen cows, but they still had to be herded to the barn to be fed grain. Slipping and sliding through the mud, Carol wondered again why cows were so stupid and they wouldn't get out of the rain and into a nice warm barn. Finally they were fed, and they began to drift back out into the pasture, munching wet grass as they walked over the wet grass. As Carol came to the pasture with the cows slowly following her, her cell phone rang. Her husband told her of an emergency involving another friend who had to be rushed to the hospital. She opened and shut the gate and ran to her house to change out of the muddy clothes. All this took only a few precious minutes, and then they were hurrying to the local hospital some 30 minutes away. For those who have been unfortunate enough to have visited any emergency room in this country, you know that it is a law that you have to spend at least 2 hours in the waiting room before you're called into actual emergency room. Then it's another 2 hours before the real doctor sees you. Thankfully, the friend was treated and was able to go home after 4 hours. Carol decided to stop by the neighbor's house to make sure everything was in order. As they drove into the driveway, she gasped as she saw the open gate in the pasture. In her hurry, she had forgotten to put the pin in the latch and keep the gate shut. Every one of those cows was happily munching on the spring grass inside the fence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. They were all there. Not a one had ventured through the opening in the yard and ultimately onto the road just a few yards away. Nothing is more tempting to a cow than a chance to wander through an open gate. Upon seeing such an opening, her mouth starts watering and visions of new tastier morsels of sweet young grass start dancing in her head. When 6 cows are wandering around the pasture, the odds are that one of them will be marching through the opening to the world outside the pasture. This was a miracle paramount to a parting of the waters. For 4 hours, God had prevented the cows from walking through the open gate. This is a miracle of epic proportion. Was God protecting the cows or my friend Carol from having to shoulder the blame for having left the gate open? I believe, though, that it is just an example of God's love. There are miracles every day for all of us if we just look for them. That also is very, very true. Some of the things God does for us, we just easily overlook, and we take a lot of stuff for granted. I was thinking about that a lot yesterday when I was kind of feeling sorry for myself, and then I saw some stuff online, thinking to a lot of people, they wish they would die to be in my situation. I seen some places where some of these kids live. It was showing bedrooms of kids from around the world, showing what their bedrooms looked like. Some just was sleeping on the bare ground, they didn't even have a roof over their head. And look at me, to people here in the USA, around us, we just live in a crappy little one-bedroom apartment, We're just poor people, but to someone like that, they could not believe how much we have. We're in a nice, secure building. We've got our own bedroom, our own bathroom, a kitchen. We've got water that runs. And that's not even counting the TV, the computers, all the luxuries we have. So we are very rich. So that made me really think yesterday, and that made me stop feeling sorry for myself, because then I started thanking God again for all the blessings that He gave me, that He gives me every day that I take for granted. Thank you, Father, for everything that I already have, and I'm sorry that I sometimes ask for more. Because God knows what we need, and He'll take care of us. We just have to trust Him and have faith in Him. And always be good to one another, guys. Always love one another, because you never know what another person's going through deep down. I love you guys. Let's bring those souls to Jesus. I hope you guys enjoyed the stories today. And God willing, I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great evening and a great night. I love you guys. Bye.